everyone. I'm your host, Captain Vijay, and with me is Capt.Gajanan Karanjikar, sir. Welcome to our next episode of Pilot Talks.
Pilot ki baat.
Pilot ki baat. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Vijay. This is our next episode, and I'm very happy to continue these efforts and calling people and knowing more about pilots and pilot ages, because this is what the awareness we need to create in people. And I'm sure this show will have a long list of guests coming in to give us more knowledge, and we can talk to them, they can share their experiences. So far, the journey has been very good, and I'm very happy about it. Thank you very much for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this platform. In our previous episodes, we have already spoken to industry stalwarts like Captain Ravi Nijjar from Australia, Captain Hank Hansen, Captain Surgeon Verghese. And from each of the episodes, we have a lot of takeaways. A lot of valuable information and knowledge was exchanged. And for the people who have not watched those episodes yet, kindly watch it on all the AIMPA platforms. It's available on YouTube and on the AIMPA Instagram page as well. So, sir, can you just share what has been your experience so far on all these pilot interviews that we have carried out so far?
Oh, it's been excellent learning. I'm sure for my fellow pilots and colleagues also will share the same thing, because everyone who called me back saying that the pilot talk show was great and what were the takeaways. People are writing WhatsApp messages on this as to we like this and we didn't like this. It is a damn good show, I think, and we should continue our efforts in this direction. And definitely a lot of people will join. A lot of people will benefit from this exercise, and I'm very happy to conduct this.
Today, we have a distinguished guest from a maritime industry, Captain Jeanine Drummond. Captain Jeanine has, for the past 6 years, worked in all the areas of Harbour Master functions, port operations and governance with Port Authority of New South Wales. Prior to this, she was employed with Caltex to provide maritime advice and expertise to the Australian terminal, port and shipping operations. She is also a member of the AIMPA board, which is known as the Australian Maritime Safety Authority Board, and a councillor with Australian Maritime Welfare Society. She is also a member of Australian Institute of Company Directors. She was the inaugural recipient of 2018 Australian Shipping and Maritime Industry Women in Shipping and Logistics Award. So would you like to add anything extra about our special guest today?
Oh yes, Captain Jeanine is very profound and gem of a person. She has held a very high position in ports like Newcastle and AIMPA, which are the ports of New South Wales state in Australia. And apart from that, she is known for her proactive actions. She's been a pilot herself, so she knows the difficulties in pilotage and pilot transfer procedures. She's the one who actually, following an incident with Captain Malcolm Goodfellow, she's the one actually who revamped the entire pilot transfer procedures. And today's talks basically are to, pick her brain on what she exactly did, what she achieved, and how it was taken by the industry, pilots themselves. Because most of the time when the incident happens, the regulations come in, the amendments come in procedures. They're not accepted by the end users. So we want to ask her these questions today. And I'm sure she is a very eloquent speaker, and she's also very well knowledgeable person in this area of expertise. So she will definitely share her knowledge with us to benefit our pilots and entire pilotage community and port community. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. So let's get Captain Jeanine Drummond on board, and we are very delighted to welcome her on this new episode of Pilot Talks, Pilot Ki Baat. A very good morning, Captain Jeanine. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
Good morning, Jeanine. Nice to see you today. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation to be on the show, and we are very delighted to have you. Second time with the AIMPA show. First time you came on the AIMPA webinar, and it was very informative and great speech from you. Everyone liked it. And let's do this show so we can, know more details about the things that you spoke that time.
Good morning, and thank you for having me back.
Jeanine, let's start with the talks, and of course, your involvement as a speaker in AIMPA webinar really created a wave, because you spoke about very important points on a very, very important subject of a pilot transfer procedure. And that was the intent, of course, because we wanted someone who has been there, done that, and to speak in authority of the experience that you have gathered. I mean, excellent. And you also speak about innovative methodology that, after the unfortunate accident of Malcolm Goodfellow, you did a lot of revamping of procedures of pilot transfer in Port of Newcastle in Yamba. And you also spoke something about traffic signal those days, that time, saying that, you installed some traffic signal to see that, the green is, is a okay to board, and red is no go. We will speak about that as we go ahead. Yes. I have very simple and small question for you to start with. We regard harbor masters as very big personalities, and we really, because they are very knowledgeable and controlling the entire harbor and, administering the entire vessel movement is a difficult job, and is a job of a knowledgeable person. So just to ask you a very academic question for the viewers to understand, as a harbor master, of the Yamba port, what were your roles and responsibilities, to perform?
Yes, so it's probably best for me to explain a little bit around the Australian landscape. So each of the states and territories execute those functions and responsibilities just slightly differently. The state that I have worked in and most familiar with New South Wales, the harbour master is delegated the authority and the responsibility to issue pilot licenses, pilot training, and the conduct of the pilotage, so the regulatory side of the pilotage. Additionally, they're also the employer. So they're also the service provider, which is unique to some of our other states where it is slightly different to that. So it's a dual responsibility that the harbour masters have in the New South Wales ports, one as a pilotage regulator, issuing pilot licence, ensuring standards of pilotage and conduct, as well as being responsible as an employer for the marine pilot and their workplace health safety concerns and other things that come with that responsibility.
Oh, excellent. I mean, that's a very important step, Very nice. Thank you very much for that. And, you must have really enjoyed being harbour master also, because you can authoritatively, change things and, make them more workable in terms of safety and security and things like that.
Absolutely. It's a very rewarding role. It's a busy role. There's a lot of challenges that come with it, but there's none more significant than managing your port safely.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you had an unfortunate accident of Malcolm Goodfellow. Just to ask you a question, because, a lot of incidences happen and, don't get reported. But incident like this, of course, where he was very badly injured. Even in India, similar accident happened to Reshma. And, when this happened, of course, I was the first one to receive the call from her. And, I really panicked myself, because I didn't know what to do. It was in the evening time, almost at 9:30 at night. And, when she called me from the boat on which she had fallen, I really panicked. I didn't know what to do. And I was really trying to search for the numbers, emotionally overwhelmed as to if she is okay or not okay, or how badly injured she is, And I was trying to, connect to a lot of people in Port Authority, in hospital, and other pilots in the port. So what was your reaction? How did you react to the Malcolm's incident?
Yeah, so any incident where someone has been potentially hurt, often when you get that call, you only get scanty information initially. So it can be the middle of the night, you've woken up, and you really want to know more, and you want to know that they're okay. But you also have to rely so much on the training and procedures that have been put in place to be able to manage that person to ensure that they're going to get the best possible recovery from whatever the incident is. And as with any incident, your first priority is making sure that the person's getting the care that they need. The operation is ceased until you have a chance to review what's happened, to make sure that it's not going to happen again. And then the later issues are to investigate and learn from what's happened to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Every time you hear of any incident, no matter where it is around the world, particularly pilot ladders, it is a high-risk activity in the conduct of pilotage in what marine pilots need to do to board a vessel in this modern world. So we need to make sure that we continually learn and share information, and work together with that I think a lot of it comes down to the preparedness and the procedures we have, operating guidelines, and delving into trends. So we can talk maybe more about that later, but the incident reporting and near miss and hazard reporting is crucial to identifying the patterns and trends and where we should be focusing our energies in campaigns for safety.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, some of the words that you have said, probably they will sound alien to the, environment in India because we don't have these operating procedures in place yet. And we don't have this, pilot transfer procedures from the pilot station to the vessel, and including all the elements of pilot boat crew, ship's crew, pilot ladder being the crucial part, and things like that are yet not addressed very well. So we are trying. AIMPA is fully involved in drafting out these procedures and policies. And of course, the awareness is the key, as you rightly said. Incident reporting is on very because data collection, incident reporting is on very low in India at the moment, and we are trying to improve that kind of a thing. Whether we have to first get the people together, and they should understand that my incident, something happens to me today, is going to make somebody else learn. Yes. And as rightly said by you, we learn from the hazards and things like that. Yes. But pilot ladders, to say broadly, pilot ladders have always been an issue. I don't know. I mean, in one of the LinkedIn posts I saw someone mentioning that the wife pilot has to stand at the ladder and make a decision whether to climb or not, because that is the only way, he is going to go safely on board. I mean, post Malcolm's incident, whatever it is, I mean, or the root cause. What are your views on pilot ladder rigging and the incompetencies on board or the non-compliances with the pilot ladder? How do you, as a authority in port, control that?
It really is a joint responsibility, and I think that's where we've got to maintain the understanding and the improvements that need to be made is with the joint responsibility of shipboard operators, pilotage providers, regulators, class societies. It brings everyone together into this area. And it's important that the guidelines and rules and regulations around it are well educated, both in colleges and on board vessels, as well as marine pilots when they start their training. A lot of marine pilots aren't exposed to pilot ladders so much, certainly not from the position of needing to climb them in a seaway. So I think when they start their training, there's another opportunity to maintain education on what a safely rigged pilot ladder looks like, what we should be looking for, the transfer operation. It probably leads me into some of the operating parameters for each port. Every port around the world will have a different seaway operating. Some are protected harbours where we board, some are exposed to swell, very different directions, sometimes confused seas, two different swells, opposing wind. And we really need to understand our local environments when we want to look at operating parameters. And over the years, there would be data, if it was collected, to show where pilot boarding has not been able to safely occur and it's been cancelled. To be able to review that data starts to show you the red zones. What were the conditions like at the time? If there's weather buoys that are monitoring swell or anemometers to be able to get the wind conditions, you can start to learn where your red no boarding occurs, and you can save everyone the trip in the pilot boat and fatigue and other things in those conditions. And then you start to learn what are you green, always go. You know, they're the conditions that you've never seen anything declined unless there's been a non-compliant ladder. And in between the red and green is the yellow, where it becomes really important to look at your dynamic risk assessments, and you might go out and have a look at the conditions, but they're really localized for each port, and it comes back to experience of the pilot vessel masters, the marine pilots, and the ship's masters in those areas coming together to understand how you create that safely on that particular shore.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your great answer, because, you know, I mean, and great insight that you have shared. And one of the first words that you mentioned was really, you know, still ringing in my ears, the joint responsibility of master, of pilot, and the port. You know, I mean, this is where the entire link gets joined. You also touched upon the pilot training. You know, I mean, you know, a lot of pilots, until, you know, this dangerous ladders, Facebook page, and other initiatives, also of some of the initiatives of AIMPA, our pilots did not themselves know what is wrong and what is right. And of course, the crew competencies are also at large, you know, with the, you know, many people getting trained, and youngsters not knowing the importance of pilot ladder. I mean, it does have a lot of impact onto the entire ecosystem of, as you said rightly, I mean, look at the pilot transfer procedure, not only, or pilot transfer operation, not only a pilot ladder. Pilot ladder is just one part of it. I mean, very, very rightly said.
So that was very insightful, Captain Jeanine, being a master mariner and with no relationship with maritime pilots as of now. That was really a lot of information that was exchanged. And I do have a few other questions, but I believe the time is short. So I would request you to, if possible, that we can resume this conversation some other time. Captain Gajanan, sir, what do you say?
Yes, absolutely, because, you know, we have a lot of questions to ask you, and we don't want to prolong this video for more than 20 minutes for the watchability and for the interest of the viewers. So I think, you know, we conclude here. Jeanine, thank you very much for being on the show. And AIMPA is grateful to you. I mean, I myself is there, of course, because you took care of things there in Australia. I mean, thank you very much. And we will again call you some other time to discuss the, you know, further things about incident report and things like that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jeanine.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Thank you, Captain.
Bye.